It's a historic moment for me. I'm blessed to be here with my people. Thank you, everybody. Thank you who support me. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, what's going on, Ringsiders? This is your host, Boxing's Objective Observer, and welcome back to Ringside Stories. Feel free to subscribe, thumbs up, and hit that notification bell for the latest here on Ringside Stories. Thanks so much for your support in advance, and welcome to the channel. Saul Canelo Alvarez gets past WBO interim titleist John Ryder, winning by a wide 12-round unanimous decision. The tough British contender had some moments, showed his heart, his ruggedness, but lacked the punch and skill to offset the current undisputed 168-pound world champion. This was Saul Canelo Alvarez's homecoming in his hometown of Guadalajara, and though scoring a clean knockdown in the fifth, Canelo did not put his man away. So what is next for Saul Canelo Alvarez? Let us know in the comments below which fighter you think Canelo should fight next. Now, assuming no crazy upsets happen in the near future, here are 3 possible opponents for Saul Canelo Alvarez. But first, let's start with a dark horse, Jamal Charlo. Jamal Charlo is a 2-weight world champion, with his best wins being the undefeated J-Rock Julian Williams, former light middleweight world champion Austin Trout, and 2-time world title challenger Sergey Derevyanchenko. Jamal Charlo has good power, good speed, counter-punching. You could say Charlo is good in every department, yet doesn't have qualities that really stand out. The main criticism for the hitman is that although he's undefeated, Jamal Charlo simply hasn't fought the most stellar opposition, especially not in recent memory. A potential fight with Jamal Charlo has been talked about for a while. Some people went even as far as to say Canelo has avoided Charlo, which is kind of ridiculous. Now, if you look at the last 10 fights, Saul Canelo Alvarez fought one relatively unknown fighter, but that was a mandatory challenger. All other opponents were either world titleists, interim titleists, or reigning world champions, all happening in 3 different weight classes. 2 fights were at 175 pounds against reigning champions, which is absolutely crazy if you consider that not too long ago, Canelo was fighting as low as 160 pounds, which was a world title unification match against a close to his prime Danny Jacobs. So to insinuate Canelo has avoided Jamal Charlo, who really hasn't done much, less achieved even a fraction of what Canelo has done in the last 5 to 6 years, is absolutely absurd. In the case Charlo would fight Canelo, Jamal Charlo would debut at 168 pounds, meaning he'd move up in weight with not really much to offer actually. That said, Canelo versus Jamal Charlo would be an interesting fight, and maybe Canelo can get the best of the hitman. I think Jamal Charlo is a good fighter, but is he great? Can Charlo show fight fans a gear he hasn't shown fight fans yet? Number 1, Dimitri Bivo. Now, after the John Ryder fight, Saul Canelo Alvarez made it clear who he wants next.
Everybody knows we want Bivo, the rematch with Bivo. If the fight with Bivo don't happen, then we'll see.
Dimitri Bivo welcomed Saul Canelo Alvarez for the Mexican's second attempt at a world title at the 175-pound limit. The undisputed super middleweight champion of the world, however, failed to put a dent into Bivo's armor, as the reigning WBA light heavyweight champion proved too technical, too smart, too good during Cinco de Mayo weekend in 2022. The cards prove the sway Canelo has, because although Dimitri Bivo won the fight by unanimous points decision, many objective boxing fans, yours truly included, did not score the fight as close as the judges had it. Not only did Bivo crash the Mexican's party, he also stopped the momentum Canelo had, not just in his run at 168, which led to Canelo's historical coronation as the division's first undisputed world champion in the 4-belt era, but also an unbeaten streak which lasted for almost 10 years, suffering his first and then only loss at the hands of all-time great Floyd Mayweather Jr. when Saul Canelo Alvarez showed promise but proved too young to pose any serious threat to Money May at the time. Speaking of unbeaten streaks, Dimitri Bivo took the O of another Mexican, former 168-pound WBO world champion Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez, in November of 2022, pitching a near shutout in Abu Dhabi, UAE. The champion dominated the imposing Mexican in typical Dimitri Bivo style. Many objective boxing observers won't give Canelo a chance in this rematch against Bivo, especially if this is fought at the 175-pound limit. But, and this is credit to Canelo's warrior mentality, he wants to have that rematch at the same weight where he lost first time around.
Do you insist that that fight be at 175 pounds?
Yeah, same rules, same terms, same everything.
But does Canelo really have the style to beat Bivo? And can he make the proper adjustments to fight and win against the technical brilliance of Dimitri Bivo? Time will only tell. Number 2, David Benavides. To some, David Benavides is the Mexican monster. To others, David Benavides is a bit overrated. His latest win over former Canelo foe and former IBF super middleweight world champion Caleb Plant may have cast some doubts over some believers and surely ignited the skeptics. But as it stands right now, David Benavides is the only one at 168, which qualifies as the most credible opponent. Benavides, aka El Bandera Roja, is still undefeated. Benavides has an eye-catching fighting style, which could make Canelo versus Benavides an interesting fight stylistically. Sure, his latest outing against Caleb Plant wasn't so stellar, but a lot had to do with the tactics Plant employed during that fight and with Caleb Plant's fighting style altogether, which Benavides did have difficulties dealing with. But if Benavides lets his hands go, he can capture the audience imagination. Will he be able to pose a serious threat to the reigning undisputed 168-pound world champion?
And there was a couple people there, and they told me after I got out, it's basically like a real fight, a fight you pay for, you know what I mean? And that's the type of intensity I want to bring. I mean, if they say that about my sparring session, how do you think the fight's going to look? So we're extremely ready.
Benavides currently holds the WBC interim title, meaning David Benavides is supposed to be Canelo's mandatory challenger. He also is the youngest fighter to ever win the world title at 168 pounds since the inception of the super middleweight division in the late 80s. Benavides won the WBC title twice at 168 and lost it as many times, but never inside of the ring. In fact, the WBC title Canelo won in December of 2020 was the very same title David Benavides was stripped off months prior when Benavides failed to make weight for his bout against Roamer Alex Angulo. But don't be misled by his age, as David Benavides has been a pro since 2013, sparring the likes of Kelly the Ghost Pavlik and Gennady Golovkin from when David was only 15 years young.
Keep an eye on this kid. He'll be top dog, he'll be champ. Mark my words. Thank you. Keep it up. Keep the hard work, kid.
Number 3. Badou Jack. Just the idea of being a world champion in 5 different weight classes is an anomaly that would solidify Canelo's status of an all-time great even more. And there are current champions in the cruiserweight division Saul Canelo Alvarez has a good chance of beating. But this is boxing and it has to make business sense, so with taking all into consideration, Badou Jack. Badou Jack held titles in 3 weight divisions, but since Jack's title at light heavyweight was the WBA regular title, we'll consider Badou Jack's WBC world titles at super middleweight and his recent conquest of that same WBC strap at cruiserweight as legit titles. Jack just came off a spectacular stoppage win over Ilunga Makabu, who not too long ago was thrown in the mix as a potential next opponent for Saul Canelo Alvarez, before he got beat by Dimitri Bivo on Cinco de Mayo weekend in 2022. As mentioned, Badou Jack has fought at super middleweight before in the pre-168-pound Canelo era, with a win over the likes of 2-time WBC champ Anthony Durrell, former champs George Groves and Lucien Bute, and a tough fight with then IBF world champion James DeGale. With all the battles Badou Jack has been in, nearing the age of 40, Saul Canelo Alvarez could consider a shot at a cruiserweight world title with a great chance to not only beating but stopping Badou Jack. Jack is on a 6-fight win streak at the making of this recording, with 4 of his last 6 being in the Middle East. And with recent big events in Saudi Arabia, the likes of Anthony Joshua facing Alexander Usyk for his rematch, and talks of bringing other top heavyweights Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder out to the Desert Kingdom, why wouldn't the man widely considered the current face of boxing follow suit and roll the dice in the Middle East? Again, a win over Badou Jack would mean a world title in 5 different weight classes for Saul Canelo Alvarez, whose legacy consists of the first Mexican undisputed world champion in the 4-belt era, the most out of all active champions in 2021, becoming undisputed in 11 months. Now, questions to consider. Will Canelo ignore the Bivo rematch? If so, will Canelo attempt to bounce back by moving up another weight division? A fight against Badou Jack certainly adds up to Canelo's legacy, who regardless of the result has a reputation of A, fighting the fights boxing fans want to see Canelo in, B, even going above and beyond, taking tough opponents outside of his natural weight division. These are my 3 suggestions. What are yours? Who do you like to see Saul Canelo Alvarez in with next? Let us know in the comments below. If you like more content like this and you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, give a thumbs up, and hit that notification bell. It helps out the channel a lot. And as always, thank you so much for your support in advance. Now, if you've done that already, you're amazing. We already know that you are the true undisputed world champion. Till next time, Ringsiders, this is your host, Boxing's Objective Observer, with Ringside Stories. Thanks for watching, and have a legendary day.